All right, I'll call this meeting back to order. We will take public comment. If anyone would like to speak for or against this agenda item, please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Joel Davenport, 2211 Pinehurst Road, Snellville, Georgia, 30078. I really don't see where I should have to pay your legal fees. And that's exactly what you're asking. You made the choice to file a suit. You weren't forced to anything. I don't recall any city mayor and council sat down, discussed any of this, tried to work it out, and if what I am hearing from Mr. Powell is correct, there was meetings with attorneys before all this took place, which means it was a plan. I'm going to do this. I've already got everything lined up. So to say that your hand was forced, no, it wasn't. You didn't get your way. You don't want to work with people. And so let's go to court. It's your answer on everything. So why should I have to pay your fees because you don't get your way? Plain and simple. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Todd Warner. I live at 3144 Turf Terrace, Snellville, Georgia, and I've had the pleasure and honor of serving with every single one of you with the exception of Ms. Richardson. And Ms. Richardson, I look forward to it in the future. In the past, let me first say, when we've had public hearings, whether they were first reads or whether they were old business, we have allowed public input under previous mayors. And one of the reasons that's very important is there may be an item that's before you that a member of your audience would like to give you some pertinent information on before you render your decision that is binding for the city. That being said, we have also had many instances in the past where mayors and council members have not gotten along, and there have been issues that needed to be dealt with, and there are many outlets to do that rather than jumping into a lawsuit. We've asked State Attorney General for opinions and various other things. I believe GMA would be more than happy to render an impartial decision based upon state law and the charter of our city if we submitted questions to them. That may or may not be the case, but there are always should be options before entering into a lawsuit. That's it. Thank you.
Additional public comment.
My name is Henry Colvin. I reside at 2972 Heavenly Lane, Snellville, Georgia, 30078. It's part of the Summit Chase community where the mayor also lives. In this case, we have someone suing the city, in essence, the councilmen of the city, the representatives of the city. So in that case, the city itself is entitled to have its fees paid in defending that case. But the person who's suing does not have the right to have the fees paid unless there's a judgment that the city is wrong. And if the city is wrong, then of course. But I haven't heard that in this case. That's what I have to say. I haven't heard that the city is wrong in this case.
Seeing none, we'll move on to item D, Melissa Arnold's settlement agreement. Mr. Powell?
Mayor, this is a confidential settlement agreement that was discussed in the executive session as appropriate. It has been presented to council, and under the Open Meetings Act, they now require all decisions to be approved in public session. So I submit it to the council for final approval.
Is there a motion, or is there questions for Mr. Powell? Is there a motion on the settlement agreement?
Motion to approve settlement agreement with regard to Melissa Arnold as drafted by City Attorney Powell.
There is a motion by Councilman Howard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Emmanuel. Is there further discussion?
This is a little tough for me. This city lost and the county of Gwinnett gained probably the most well-respected, well thought of, hardest working, most passionate, compassionate person this city will ever see. And for that, I'm sorry, Melissa Arnold.
Additional comment? The terms and conditions of the settlement agreement are confidential. However, the circumstances that led up to the settlement agreement are not. And so I'd like to make a few comments as far as that is concerned. For those of you that don't know, Ms. Arnold was the former city clerk here in the city of Snellville, and was part of the basis for the lawsuit that we just discussed in item C. Ms. Arnold, a settlement implies that there was some type of lawsuit or some type of wrong to be settled. Ms. Arnold has never filed a lawsuit against the city of Snellville. She has never sent us an anti-litem notice. There is no reason for this council to be considering a settlement with Ms. Arnold at this point in time. Ms. Arnold resigned her position in the middle of the court case between myself and members of the Snellville City Council. Ms. Arnold was never fired by myself, as many would like to say. I made a recommendation to the city manager that she be moved to the purchasing agent position at the same salary and with the same benefits. Ms. Arnold chose that she did not like the purchasing agent position and chose to give her settlement in the middle of the trial. She has since gained lawful employment with the Gwinnett County and has not been harmed for being unable to find work. While I do believe that Ms. Arnold was a dedicated and hard worker, I've always tried to be respectful of Ms. Arnold through this process. During the trial, for those of you that attended, you will recall that during both the trial and Ms. Arnold's deposition, she admitted that as city clerk, she didn't always know how to report things to the Secretary of State. She admitted as city clerk she certified documents that were not actual documents that should have been certified. She admitted that she made errors in her job as city clerk, and that was part of the basis for my decision to make a new appointment for the position of city clerk. So I don't believe that at this point in time, council is concerned with taxpayer money and with stopping the bleeding, then why we would approve a settlement agreement when Ms. Arnold has not made any demands upon the city other than having a conversation with our city attorney, Mr. Powell. So I will not support the settlement agreement tonight. And we'll open the floor, I guess, for public comment.
Mayor, before you do that, I find it despicable that you would sit here and downgrade Ms. Arnold. You would be hard-pressed to find anyone in the city that would agree with your assessment. That is solely a one person out of 19,000 assessment. I resent the fact that you tried to spin what happened to Ms. Arnold in such a way to make it look like you did some kind of wonderful thing for the city. Miss Arnold was human. We're all human. But she never made grievous errors to put the city in jeopardy at any time. She quit in the middle of the trial because of the pressure that was being put on her and the allegations that you were making against her. She certainly didn't quit out of good conscience and wanting to leave the city because she wanted to go on. You saw her that day when she resigned. You saw the mental state she was in. Madam Mayor, you're responsible for that. Not one other person in the city is responsible for that. Whether you want to take credit for it or not, or take responsibility for it or not, is up to you. That's between you and your God. But I'm telling you that to sit here and say that she resigned in the middle of the trial without letting everyone know exactly what kind of mental stress she was under at the time is completely disingenuous. And I'd like to ask Attorney Powell, could you please tell us why we made a settlement, sir? And I don't know how much you can tell, but the insurance company's involvement in all
Mr.
this and all
Powell,
that.
I'd be cautious, because if you open the door, then that allows more comments to be made.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to comment on any details. Just Tony Powell, city attorney, it is wise to accept the settlement. There is legal justification for it in spades. And so it comes with my high recommendation. The level of exposure that is being capped with it is significant. And so I'm grateful. I am convinced that the legislature's made a mistake in bringing settlement agreements to the floor in an open meeting. I don't think this is a good idea.
Mr. Powell, at some point in time, you also served as attorney for Miss Arnold during the pending litigation, correct?
I represented the city.
But
And
you
Ms.
also
Arnold
represented Miss Arnold in her
city
position.
clerk. Ms. Arnold was a city clerk.
And
Absolutely.
you had, okay. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Councilman Witz, I do take responsibility for my actions. Sometimes as CEO, you have to make the hard decisions, and I made the decision that I thought, excuse me, I made the decision that I thought was best for the city of Snellville. Excuse me, Mr. Warner, we are still in council debate because Mr. Witz
I'm sorry,
said he was
I
not
thought
done
you had
yet.
called for public comment.
No, sir, Mr. Witz said he was not ready yet, so if you could please have a seat,
I
Mr.
didn't
Warner.
realize it was mayor's comment.
Thank you. Councilman Witz, I do take responsibility, but if you want to talk about tactics, you can explain to everyone how Miss Arnold's resignation came about after we had a 3-hour recess when all of us were together in one place, and the resignation was never mentioned until I got back on the witness stand, and then Mr. Powell stopped the court proceedings so that he could read Miss Arnold's written resignation into the record, a written resignation he already had. So this whole thing tonight, all of this has been about politics. All of this has not been in the best interest of the city. This has not been in the best interest of Miss Arnold. This all goes back to politics and trying to take jabs at the position of mayor. It's the same thing that we've been doing for the past 3 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, bottom line is we lost Melissa Arnold, and our city hurts from that. And regardless of what you hear coming from the left of my hand right here, she is responsible for losing Melissa Arnold.
Mr. Warner, you have something to say?
Mr. Warner, I'd like to interrupt for just a minute, if I might. Miss Arnold was a valuable employee. I think the way she was, let's say, removed from the city clerk position was less than honorable. It was degrading to her. The fact that she has another job, I think, and got it quickly, I think speaks to her ability and her reputation. But I think we did her a disservice with the way she wasn't terminated, but if I talked to anybody and said the majority of your job is going to go away, and we're going to throw you in the slot that we don't have defined. That's degrading, it's uncalled for. She did an exceptional job, and I think the fact that she made a few mistakes pales by comparison to the excellent work that she did, and we sorely miss her.
Public comment.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to, I understand the delicacy that we have here in discussing this, but just to clarify some of your comments that were made that really cast Melissa in a light that she was incompetent. I just want to let people know the timeline that we were dealing with was that Melissa Arnold was relieved of her city clerk duties on January the 10th. Attempted to remove her from her position as city clerk on January the 10th of 2014. The errors that the mayor speaks of that were found were actually found just before the trial in June. Therefore, the reasons for her removal as city clerk or attempted removal as city clerk were not because of these errors and her alleged incompetence, as those few errors that were presented were not found until depositions, which happened the day before we actually went to trial.
Under that, it's actually inaccurate. The errors were omitted in the deposition, but the errors were known at the time that they were made or shortly thereafter. It wasn't an isolated incident. Ms. Arnold was a wonderful employee, again, and she did do an excellent job, but there were concerns with her position throughout the time. I had to wait, or in my opinion, I had to wait until the beginning of the year to make the appointment based on the code and charter as it existed at that point in time. Now we'll open it up for public comment.
I'll Sandra, leave it up there. It's not going to be interesting anyway. Once again, I'm Todd Warner, live at 3144 Turf Terrace, Snellville, Georgia, 30078. And I had the honor and privilege of serving with Miss Arnold over the years. I believe I started hanging around the old City Hall around 1999. And she was as helpful to a citizen as you could possibly be. So she knew me for a number of years before I had the honor of serving on city council. And one of the things that struck me about Miss Arnold and her belief in doing her duty as city clerk was the fact that when I came in to early vote in a City of Snellville election, she still required me to pull out my ID, show her a copy of my driver's license. I'm like, Melissa, come on. You've seen me at meetings. I've been a member of council. You've seen my W-2s because the city pays me. No, that's what we do. I'm required to do it. That's what we're going to do. There was a question during an election about making sure that the ballots were properly secured when there was a runoff, or not a runoff, but a very, very close election. And Miss Arnold made sure that over others' protests, she stayed by that ballot box, made sure it was secured in the city safe before turning in for the night. That's the kind of person Miss Arnold was. Over the 4 years that I served on council with the Honorable Mayor Couts, she was a council member then, never one time do I remember her questioning Melissa's abilities, her work, or any of the work product that she produced. Of course, I'm just going by memory. I could be wrong. I'm sure there were 1 or 2 times that we had to amend minutes. But one thing that I do know from my time on council is that our city charter and state law allows the mayor to appoint a city clerk if there's a vacancy. That was not the case when Mayor Couts appointed our new city clerk. And I still have issue with the fact that from the time that our city clerk, Melissa Arnold, resigned until now, we have not had the swearing in of the city clerk. And I believe that every meeting and every action that has taken place in this city since that time has been illegal and is questionable because we do not have a duly sworn city clerk. And so I would ask the mayor and council to please take care of that tonight. Thank you.
Additional comment?
Marcy Fair, 1749 Ridgedale Drive, Snellville, Georgia. This was a confidential agreement. It should have been voted on yes or no. This is a personnel matter that's being discussed, and it should not be open to public comment. I'm sorry, I do not believe that this was good.
Additional public comment?
I'm Diana Woodruff at 2631 Stokesley Way, Snellville, Georgia, 30078. I've been sitting here, I haven't been to your meetings in probably a year, maybe 2 years, and because of a conflict in scheduling. I am appalled at how this conflict between the mayor and the council, how did it ever arrive? And what I'm beginning to understand from you, Madam Mayor, is a sense of willfulness, and a heavy-handedness under the guise of doing right and using your knowledge of legal. Heavenly days. I've never seen it used in such an abusive way. The laws of the land were established to make things fair for us, so that all of us would have a right for a voice. And you know, I ran for city council twice, and I was defeated twice. And I also had experience with Melissa Arnold. She was extremely helpful to me. She helped me negotiate how I had to resolve my political contributions. She showed me the error of my ways, so that when I had to submit it to the state, it was correct. How on earth could such a valuable employee be dismissed? How on earth? I am not sure how this has all come about, but it's got my attention, and I certainly am going to be paying attention.
Madam Mayor, councilors, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Claudette Forbes. I live at 2781 London Berry Court. I'm a little bit confused. I know Mrs. Arnold, not a very long time. I worked with her a bit during the election, and I find her a lovely person. I have a lot of respect for her. She was easy to work with. And I also know Mrs. Richardson, another lovely person, a nice lady for whom I have a lot of respect. It is unfortunate that because of the animosity that exists up here, that we all lost sight of the big picture. What would have been a great benefit to the city of Snellville is if our councillors and our mayor could get along and see what you have lost. You've lost a good team. If you had chosen to work this thing out amicably, you could have a powerful team with these two ladies. Then you wouldn't have a problem. You could alternate, one work 4 days this week, one work for 5 days next week. You'd always have somebody here with Mrs. Richardson' experience from Florida and Mrs. Arnold's experience here in Snellville. That's a powerful team that the city missed. How did you all not get it? You just didn't get it because you were so bitter in your hate for each other that you can't see the true picture. Another reason why I'm confused is this settlement. What is it about? Is it her severance package? If that be the case, then that's okay. That is company policy and that should be secret. But if it's a settlement, you have to have something to settle. What is it based on? And to call it secret is not fair to people like me. I've been paying city tax in Snellville for the past 21 years. And you have to bear in mind, when you're making payments like these, it is not coming from your pocket. It's coming from the public's purse. I handle my money carefully, and I would expect the elected officials to be even more careful with my money, because it's not from your pocket. I'm not saying, I just want to know, what is this settlement for? What are you settling? I think the people of Snellville ought to know that. If it is not a part of our severance package, then it should not be secret, because it is not your money. If it's a gift to Mrs. Arnold, then we should know how much it's costing the city. We're talking about legal fees, how much we're spending on that. God knows Mr. Powell just said that. And then in the next breath, we're spending money in secret. Let us know what it is. If it's not a part of our severance package, then we ought to know. Okay? Thank you. And I really do hope that you could just get beyond this and work together. The people of Snellville is not just these in here. They're more outside, and they're listening. They're watching you, and you need to behave a little bit better than that. Okay, Mr. Howard?
Additional public comment? See none, I'll call the vote, and all those in favor of approval of the settlement agreement with Melissa Arnold, signify by raising your right hand. That's 4 in favor, all those opposed, 1 opposed, the motion stands approved. That brings us to E, consideration action on the Snellville Entrepreneur Council resolution and memo of understanding. This is Resolution 2014-16, whereas the City of Snellville Office of Economic Development City is undertaking initiatives to foster greater economic opportunity by promoting small business and entrepreneurship, developing exemplary talent and leadership, and pursuing targeted economic development opportunities designed to improve its business and residents' quality of life and diversify its economy. Whereas the Snellville Entrepreneur Council, SEC, was created as a not-for-profit resource to support the sustainable success of private business around the greater Snellville area, to help entrepreneurs start, fund, and grow businesses by offering the best business building and advisory mentoring expertise and tools. Whereas the city's initiatives and the vision of the SEC coincide in wanting to create powerful tools for retaining and expanding business in the city and to create an environment and opportunity for the substantiability of private business. Whereas the parties desire to work together to create an entrepreneur-friendly atmosphere in the city of Snellville. It is hereby resolved the city and SEC agree to create and sustain an entrepreneurial ecosystem in the city of Snellville by working together on the initiatives outlined in the memorandum of understanding attached hereto. Be it further resolved, nothing in the memorandum of understanding shall be deemed to be a commitment or obligation of funds from either the city or the SEC or any of their various components. The parties acknowledge that all or any financial arrangements must be negotiated. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2014-16?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion by Councilman Bender. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Witz. Further discussion?
This is a resolution for creating a memorandum of understanding between an organization called the Snellville Entrepreneur Council and the city of Snellville. Several years ago, the city hired Eric Van Otteren as the economic development manager for the city. And one of the things that he started embarking on was to figure out what Snellville's niche was going to be. And working within the council, Partnership Gwinnett, which had done a huge market study for Gwinnett County, and talking through history and the development of Snellville, we realized that, Snellville wasn't going to be a big manufacturing community just because we don't have that facility, we don't have that land available. So we had to find that niche, and that niche became attracting small business here. And so what Eric did was created an informal little round table of business volunteers, or volunteers from business, business owners, people who worked in corporate settings, the school system, and started just talking with them, bouncing ideas off of them to figure out what do these business owners need from the city? What kind of support can the city give them to help create a very business-friendly environment here? It was through those meetings with those volunteer business owners that the SEC was born. And I got heavily involved in the organization about a year and a half ago, and we started putting a little more structure around the organization, and we decided to incorporate. And so, of course, that raises questions of what the relationship is between the city government and this nonprofit organization. And as the resolution that the mayor read explains, we have common goals. We're both here to help support small business. And there's things that the city wants to be able to do that the city's not designed to be able to do. And that's to offer services like free mentoring, low cost or no cost peer advisory boards, which is an executive roundtable for small businesses, providing resources, educational opportunities, and just networking opportunities for small businesses to get together to talk about and share their problems with other business owners in the community. So many times, I don't know how many of you are small business owners, but so many times when you own your own business, and you have, especially if you have employees, there's no one else to really talk to on your level. You can't go to your employees and say, I have concern about meeting payroll next week. That's just not a good thing to talk to your employees about. But there are people out there willing to sit down and listen to you and bounce ideas off of you, and that's where the peer advisory boards come into play. I would like to introduce our board members that are here. I think I saw Dennis Daniels. If you'll just stand up. Dennis Daniels is on our board. Tori Rose, Marcia Jobson, and Eric Van Otteren, also who's not here, Steve Darrell, who you saw a couple meetings ago, who created the video for the Veterans Memorial, Laura Wagner, and myself. we are all working very hard, again, as volunteers, to help support the business community and create that small business ecosystem that I think will really help Snellville thrive. The organization and Eric's work has already been recognized. The Atlanta Business Chronicle came out, was that about 2 years ago, Eric? And talked about our launch of the entrepreneur-friendly community. They did a follow-up article last year, or about a year ago, and actually featured some of the businesses that have been through Dennis's peer advisory boards. And Dennis he's a professional facilitator. He does this for a living, and for this group here, he does not charge for his services. So again, this is all volunteer. Again, I appreciate the board. I appreciate all the time and effort that everybody's put into this. And the memo of understanding, if you read it, it just lays out what that partnership is, what that collaborative effort is between the two entities. So thank you.
Additional comments? Ms. Bender, as I was reading this out loud, I caught something. I have a question. It does say the city will provide the executive pulse software. Do you know what I'm assuming that's a minimal cost?
That is actually something Eric does have, but we are not using that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of passage of Resolution 2014-16 signify by raising your right hand. That's 5 in favor. Those opposed, 0 opposed. The resolution stands approved. That brings us to our council reports. Mr.
I had no comment.
I think I'm going to pass comment. Thank you.
I'm going to preempt Bobby Howard. I have pictures. I thought I did. South Gwinnett had their homecoming this weekend and had a parade that I was fortunate enough to be part of, along with Bobby in the cop cab. We drove through. Of course, everybody loves sirens and lights, and he loves to turn them on. So we had the group assemble in the parking lot over by Westminster Presbyterian Church. This is some of the ROTC group, and a great deal of enthusiasm on the part of the students. And of course, we had our police officers there to keep everybody in order. And Snellville police are always on hand to make sure things are going smoothly and to help out. In this case, they weren't needed, but it was nice to have them there. And that's some of the costumes that were there at the parade. And we had quite a few people actually along the parade route who had come out to see it and were obviously enjoying it. And then at the end of the parade, we went over and spent some time with the teachers and faculty over at South Gwinnett. That's Eric Thigpen in the blue shirt, and that's his little boy that I'm not sure who's holding him, but really cute little boy, and we had a good conversation with Eric. They're doing great things at South Gwinnett High School, and I just thought it'd be nice to take a look and see what's going on and some of the activities the students are involved in. And then on Saturday, we had the Cops and Robbers run, and we were out there some of us were out there at 4 in the morning. Some of us didn't get there till 6. I don't think Regina Hart's ever going to recover. But I'd just like to thank all the volunteers who helped make that happen. It was a lot of work, and I think everybody was really tired and really glad it was over. But we always have our volunteer base, and they always seem to be there to help out. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for attending tonight.
How y'all doing? I won't take long. Famous last words, right? Everybody spend some money in Snellville this week? Yes? All right. Good job. Good job. Well, as David said, the cop cab continues to get a lot of attention, a lot of requests. Got a couple of really big things working on this thing. So it's really gaining the support of the entire community, not just here in Snellville, but had the pleasure of having lunch over at the Sheriff's Department at the jail the other week. Sheriff Conway I actually got out as well. Sheriff Conway was very complimentary of it, and he was excited to see us have it. You know, anything we can do to, you know, lessen their occupancy rates, he's all for, as a matter of fact. So he's very happy about that. Saturday night, South Gwinnett High School, homecoming dance. We were there as well. The South Gwinnett High School administration has been tremendously supportive of this effort. And we're there at the football games, and we'll be there, you know, at prom and so on and so forth. So I think, Erica, we got just a couple more. So I'm thankful to the folks at South Gwinnett High School, Principal Thigpen, that group, for embracing it the way that they have. Again, Sam Roper and Amy Roper today had their 5th annual Drive for the Cure, I guess, for multiple sclerosis. Tremendously well attended, over 150 golfers. We took the car out there again. A lot of people really enjoy the understanding what the vehicle does. And we're going to continue to do those things. Like I said, we got several cool things really coming up that I'm really just not going to talk about right now. But they're going to be very impactful. So thanks to everybody that's been supportive of the thing. Again, it's 100% privately funded. And it's, you know, it's just an opportunity for us to be, you know, out in the neighborhood and out in the community with something that's sending a positive message. And I'm certainly grateful and appreciative of everybody that's been involved in that. So continue to see it out there, continue to support it, and thank y'all for coming. I'm proud to serve this city, and y'all travel safe going home.
For the mayor's report, I'll just echo what Mr. Howard and Mr. Manuel said. I want to thank South Gwinnett High School. I had the privilege of leading the parade with Cosmo and myself for the honorary grand marshals of the homecoming parade. I want to thank Lori Roberts. She does a great job organizing that every year. South Gwinnett is doing fabulous things over there. So if you haven't been over there lately, if you haven't checked out their academies, I encourage you to go on their website and see the good things that are happening at the high school. Since our last council meeting, we also had a grand opening, Operation Homebrew, which has been in business for a while, but had their official grand opening. I encourage all of you to go out and check it out. It's in Cooper Village there off of Highway 78, and we are starting to have a atmosphere here in the city of Snellville with Lincoln Town and Operation Homebrew. So that's a good niche that we're developing here in the city of Snellville. We actually were able to allure them away from Lilburn, so we're happy that they chose Snellville as their home. I want to thank everyone for coming out on this holiday, and have a safe trip home. I'll open it up for public comment. Please state your name and address for the record. So say everyone talked enough tonight?
I'm Steve Larson, 1679 Holly Lake Cove, Snellville, Georgia, 30078. I had the opportunity to meet with, me and some other residents met with Marion and Damie and Woody Snell this afternoon and went over a proposal for a development off Tree Lane. I understand that there's been other residents who've met with them, and so that we can get some public comment. It was a very good meeting and a lot of comments. We went line by line through their items of discussion, and I'd just say that everything that we saw of the residents that were there seemed to be acceptable. I'll limit that to the things that are on the sheet, and that I don't see any reason why the process shouldn't continue post haste. If there's anything I can answer about that, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Additional public comment? Okay. The time is 9:22. We are adjourned. Thank you.